And welcome back here to San Antonio at the Henry B. Gonzalez Convention Center. We continue at the Texas High School Coaches Association Annual Convention. Bobby Stotzenberger with you from TexasSportsProductions.com. And we're joined now by Rodney Williams. He's the head coach of the mighty Judson Rocket football team. And this guy's a jack of all trades, though. He coaches football, but his daughter happens to be one of the best softball players in the nation, and helped lead the Judson girls softball team to the state championship game in her junior year, and assisted by this guy. So you don't just coach football, you coach softball. I saw you lining the cones out before the game one time, so you can do it all, right?
That's a small tail in me. When you come from a town like Flatonia, Texas, you learn to do a little bit of everything. So I love it. I mean, it keeps me going, keeps me interested, and whatever I can do for the kids is what I'm there for.
That was a fun run. I know we're here to talk football, but as an assistant coach and with your daughter being one of the star players, if not the star player on the team, to go all the way to the state championship game, were you happier as a coach or as a dad?
A little bit of both. I mean, when you see someone that you live with, that you born and raised her, and to see her have success along with the other girls, it was special, and it was big to see the girls represent Judson the way they represented Judson, because we got a lot of people that followed us, that care now. They understand that softball is a major sport now, and not only at Judson but in the state of Texas and around the United States and the world. So to be a part of that with her is very special.
Well, you now have a new boss. We just talked to her, Treva Corrales, the athletic director at Judson. I introduced her to my business partner, Jay Riley, a moment ago, and I said, I want to introduce you to the most successful girls basketball coach in San Antonio high school basketball history.
Oh, very special.
And what is it about your new boss, Treva, that makes her a good coach and a good leader?
She's tenacious. She's very, very methodical when it comes down to the X's and O's, but also she builds relationships with the girls, and they want to play for her. And that's what great coaches do. Is sometimes it's not about having the best players, which we've had our share of good players, but just getting people to believe in you and follow your lead, and that's what she does a good job at.
And, watching those teams that she coached, they were just so disciplined. They just didn't make many mistakes.
No, if you watch them practice, you'll know why.
She runs a tight
ship. Oh, yeah,
ship.
the practice is very, very intense.
So how different has it been in the last couple of months? Coach Miller was at Judson ISD for a decade or so as the athletic director, and, of course, he's been your only boss up until now. What changes do you see coming with the new leadership at the athletic director position?
I think she, being fresh out of the coaching profession, she knows that side of it. I mean, it's a different world, on the field, in the action, than it is sitting up and watching. And I think she's going to be able to bring that balance between the both of them. And, she's going to let us do our jobs. And that's one thing you want from a supervisor, just let you do your job. And, and she also can be that little calming factor when you need a little help, say, hey, God, and she can understand where I'm coming from on that part. So I'm looking forward to it.
Well, okay, so I've asked this. We've had a number of coaches on already, and a similar type question, but 2020 was just so different, and it presented different challenges for different schools. And a lot of schools had more in-class instruction. Judson was not necessarily one of those. I mean, I have a child that's at Veterans Memorial, and he was remote most of the year. And I'm not a particularly big fan of remote learning. I get the feeling that you're not either. But how close are we to being back to quote-unquote normal? I think it's almost impossible to get back to 2019 even this year, because this thing is still kind of lingering around. But are we almost there, you think?
I'm hoping, because, that – it's been it was tough for us at Judson ISD not having the kids there. A lot of our kids don't drive, so the parents had to be a lot more involved, and it just was frustrating. And I don't know. I mean, I'm telling my kids, like, be here. That's all I'm telling them. I said, we not even going. I know that the COVID is still out there, but I'm not telling my kids anything about it. We trying to go to work, because last year left a sour taste in our mouths, losing the way we lost in the Bod District, to a well-coached Coach Carroll always has great teams.
But they played particularly well that day.
They played very well that day, the best I've seen them play, and we didn't play as well. And, just all the obstacles that we dealt with at JISD and Judson High School, it just kind of that day was a perfect storm, and they got us. So we came back with the core group of kids we got this year, and like, look, guys, if y'all are happy with the way we ended our season, then I don't think none of us need to be competitors, because that should be a sour taste in your mouth. And even right now, we still trying to get all the people back in line, and it hasn't happened the way I wanted it fully. But the core of our team is there, and we're going to give it a run, see what we can do this year.
How has that motivated you, your staff, and the players in the off season, knowing that you didn't meet the expectation you had for yourselves or the community?
I mean, it's like I said, it hurt. It hurt very bad, but you look at it, it's like, what do you do? I mean, do the best you can, and like I said, it takes more than just the coaches and the players. The parents, they have to understand, too, that they have a big role in the success of our program, because they the ones got to get the kids to school, and that's going to be the biggest thing. If we can get our kids to school, then we can, because, we didn't watch video last year. We weren't allowed to meet. The coaches weren't allowed to meet. Everything was on Zoom, and that was a very, very tough way to do things. And, I mean, I can't even put into words how tough it was and stressful. I mean, I don't know if I slept all last year. I was just so beat down mentally that. But we still won district.
Yeah.
That was a big step.
In a very good
in
district.
a very good district, and just little things here and there just tilted the wheel the wrong way for us. But we're trying to get back to what we need to do. We're going to have a lot of inexperienced guys this year.
Mm-hmm.
We got some very, very good players, but it's going to be some players that people probably have never heard of that's going to have to step out and do some things for us to be successful.
But if they're good players, they can make that happen.
They can make it happen. And the good thing about
I think back a couple of years ago, and I was broadcasting a game at Lake Travis, and y'all had 7 or 8 sophomores starting on defense against a team that returned everybody on offense and averaged 50 points a game the year before. And I'm thinking to myself, this is a disaster waiting to happen. And you go out and win the game, because that group of sophomores, the Rashad Wisdoms and the
Marvin Leal,
that was a pretty talented group. And so I think, experience and talent, which one would you take if you have to pick one over the other?
Good question, because, the tradition at Judson brings it makes the kids experience, because they know what they have to look forward and try to get to, and that helps. That helps when those guys put that diamond gel on their helmets. They just know for a fact that you're going to get everybody's best.
Right.
And if you don't go out there and give your best, you're right, it's going to be a disaster. And, we got to go back up there and play Coach Carter again this year after playing a tough DeSoto team. So in the first 2 weeks, we're going to find a lot about what this team is going to be. And, I'm excited for the challenge. I mean, I told the kids, I said, look, I didn't get where I was at, cutting corners. I want to go against the best. I want you guys to go against the best, and either we going to, learn something about ourselves and step forward, or we going to stay status quo. And I know for a fact not one coach in our office, not one kid wants to be status quo. We want to be, a perennial powerhouse, and we just got to get back to it. You got to have some breaks.
Right.
And hopefully this year some breaks will go our way and see what happens.
Well, and you mentioned DeSoto. That it was a pretty rough loss to open the season last year. But that seemed to kind of be a turning point to have a really good regular season from that point forward. Obviously we talked about the upset loss in the first round for the playoffs, but y'all seem to be that DeSoto loss motivated you guys to be better and great. And there were times last year you were a great football team.
Oh, yeah. Well, like I told the kids, I said they didn't quite understand what I was saying when I said we were going to play a very, very talented team. And to get beat the way we got beat the first half, the second half it was 0-0. So that showed me a little bit about the team. They did have some character. But that made them focus a little more, because, I mean, Zoom, you're dealing with 15, 16-year-old kids. I know they weren't paying attention in Zoom all the time. And that game showed that, hey, you might want to buckle in, because, all we did, we saw them in the mornings, and we saw them at lunch, and I never saw them the rest of the day. And that game made them kind of get more together and say, hey, look, coaches might not be able to be there with us, but we can do this on our own. And we did. We showed some flashes of a very, very talented team last year. And, who knows, if we would have won that first round, who knows what would have happened. But that's part of the game. As long as you stay in competitive sports, you're going to win some, you're going to lose some. And just, hope you can learn from everything you do.
Well, we had Richard Mendoza on, and I asked him this question. We posed this conversation, but and this goes back to talking to Treva about this as well. A good coach is a good coach, I think you can take any sport if you're good at what you do as far as putting kids in the right position to be successful and putting your program and your staff and hiring the right people and all the little pieces. If you're good at doing that, it doesn't matter the sport. So the question I have for you that relates to that is you were part of a state finalist in softball. There was something about that group of girls and that coaching staff, you included, that meshed really well. Was there any lessons that you learned as a coach that you can translate that into a success on the football field too?
That's funny you say, because that was our last exit meeting with the football team. That was my rallying cry to them. Is like, my daughter, she's going to Texas A&M. We got Destiny Rodriguez who's going to Tennessee. Shortstop is going to St. Mary's. We had a lot of kids that's going to play on the next level. And what I told my guys, I said, the reason why we are very, very successful in softball, because not one time does those girls bring up next level playing at this, that, and that. All they cared about was playing for the Judson Rockets. And I told our kids, I said, if y'all can get that mindset and just play the game. If something happens later on, you get a chance to go to college, that's all fine and dandy. But play for the Judson Rockets and watch how good y'all can be. Because that's been a battle. I mean, that's the nature of the environment we live in now. All these kids, you have
always thinking of the next level.
They have this recruiting service. Everybody is a 5-star. Everybody's going to Alabama. And I'm like, well, in reality, only one of y'all out of the whole team may do that.
Right.
And once they get that mindset, and I think if I keep knocking on them and doing that, you might see a little different in the attitude change. But who knows? It's so many, like I said, recruiting services out there that they want that money, so they're going to tell these kids, oh, yeah, you going to get this and get that. And the kids sometimes fall, and the parents, it's just nature. It's human nature to fall into what the next best thing. But if we can just say, hey, the next best thing right now is the 2021 Judson Rockets, you're going to see some kids that's going to go out there and do some special things, hopefully.
All right, you got a tough district race. We got about a minute and a half here. So how do you see your district playing out this year for high school football? It's a great district.
Yeah, it always is. Me and Coach Hill were talking about that the other week on the phone. He was like, I am tired of playing y'all in this dang district. I said, well, coaches, hey, I'm not too happy playing with you neither, but it brings the best out in you. I mean, as a coach, as a young coach coming to San Antonio, I always look forward to coaching against Coach Hill and all that. And now to be in this district, you got Coach Sines, you got – I can go down the list. Every coach is special in their own way. 2
1-point losses for Coach Mangold or New Braunfels.
New Braunfels in the playoffs. Yeah, it's never a letdown. South San is one of the most physical teams I've seen. So every game is like you got to be on your A game or you can get upset. And I love it. I know our kids love it because they understand that if you want to be the best, it's old Ric Flair slogan. You want to be the man, you got to beat the man.
But you got to follow that with what?
Woo! Woo!
You know what? We had Coach Bezier on one time in the second round when they had all their great success at Brennan in 5A, and they're playing Steele, and this is in the height of Steele's run in 6A.
Remember that.
And he said on his interviews, he goes, to be the best, you got to beat the best. And I said, did we just get a Ric Flair quote on our pregame interview? I got a good laugh out of him on that.
I'm a huge wrestling fan, so.
All right, man. To be the man, you got to beat the man.
You got to beat the man. So.
Woo! Folks, that's Rodney Williams. He's the head coach of the Judson Rockets. We look forward to covering them a lot here on TexasSportsProductions.com and KSAT.com. Big game coverage. We got a whole big deal coming up, man.
Looking forward to it.
All right. You'll see a lot of Judson on that. We'll be back from San Antonio in just a moment with more Texas High School Coaches Association Convention on TexasSportsProductions.com.